Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wealth Wednesday show. This is another time we are here to bring you a guest to speak about a topic that we believe most of us have been having quite a number of questions, or some of us are in that position or dilemma at such a time as this. As always, we encourage you to keep on subscribing to our YouTube channel. Ensure you have turned on the notification button so that when we go live or when we upload a video, you will be the first person to know. Um, Also to highlight, we request you to follow us on Instagram at Financial Wellness Center, as well as like our Facebook page, Financial Wellness Center, so that you can stay updated with our money and business management tips. So, without taking so much time, I want to say thank you to all our partners globally. You have been so good to us, and your immense support and work. We really appreciate you for all the effort that you're doing to just see Financial Wellness Center growing. So, we are so grateful for that. And of course, to all our followers, as always, you are at the heart of our everything. We love you, we cherish you, and we are doing all this just because of you and because of the support you keep on giving us. And one of the announcements we have today is we are hosting our last 2020 WhatsApp class. This is a class that will be starting on the 5th of December. So to register, please, there is a link that will be attached on this live session, or you can check our Facebook page so that you can get to have a look at our poster or flyer on how you can register for the WhatsApp class. This is going to be an exciting class. We called it home stretch because we want to look at our finances finally when 2020 is ending, and of course be prepared to start 2021 on a high note with a good financial foundation. So without taking much time, we do have an amazing guest in the house. He is so energetic. He's so learned. I don't want to say everything about him. I want him to again reintroduce himself. He is our repeat guest. We had him earlier on a few months ago where he discussed with us some on one of the hottest topics, siblings and money. And tonight he is back with us to discuss on education as an investment or consumption. Before I can give TK the platform, I just want us to think about how education has been. We all know that, uh, especially in the current times, education is no longer the key to success. We've seen a lot of people who are so educated, but they are not what we thought education could or should provide. But that means there's something we are missing out on. And that is why some people start to think like education is not that important, while others think education is very important. So TK will help us demystify that topic as well as answer that question wide and clear, or loud and clear. So TK, feel welcome. We are so honored to have you once again. We truly appreciate your sacrifice and effort to be here with us, along with together with my audience. I give you this opportunity to introduce yourself and maybe tell us a little bit about yourself once again. Thank you.
All right. No, thank you so much, Sheila. And a big shout out to the Financial Wellness Center for the work that you guys are doing. I follow your page on Instagram, on Facebook, and on the channel. And I love the work that you guys are doing. And when we say, guys, please like, comment, and subscribe, we really do mean it. And we love to, engage with the community. So thank you so
Yeah.
much for having me here again. And I hope in 2021 I will be back again. Hopefully this time we will be one in Kenya and then two in Dubai. So we still have that pending date. Yeah. We still have that pending date. So to everybody, my name is TK Ntebe. I am the founder of TKO Consultancy based in the beautiful mountain kingdom of Lesotho in Southern Africa. I am a content creator. I do blogs, I do YouTube, I do social media, and I'm now going to launch my podcast, which will be very coming soon. Basically, what we do is similar to Sheila. I do a lot of financial education, financial wellness, and financial awareness, because I believe that as young people, we really need to do get our finances right and have a great and meaningful relationship with our money. And beyond that, I'm also a, a, a lifelong learner. I love to study. I love to educate myself. I love to try out new things. So like Sheila says, I believe that education is really quite an important aspect in our lives. And as people, we really do need to consider education as a way of life. I don't want to get into the conversation just yet. And when I say that, I sit here and I have 5 degrees that I've completed, all in finance. And I'll tell you why I did that when we get into the conversation and what the financial implication around that was and what the benefits of getting educated or pursuing those different qualifications has been in my life and in my career. And then currently, I just completed a short 12-week certificate as well in financial coaching. So when I do say that education is at the heart of what I do, it really is amazing to see myself developing and challenging myself to get to the next level. So yeah, I think we can get into the show.
Sure, sure, sure. Thank you so much for the great introduction. And I can agree with you that finance is the backbone of any economy. And your passion in things concerning finance is just on another level. And to our audience, please ensure you follow TK on Instagram. He has amazing stuff there, as well as check out his consultancy page, TKO Consultancy. And if you are in Lesotho, please, and you're looking for a coach, an MC, someone to come and teach your audience or your employees or your team about money, then TK is the person you need to go to right away. I believe he will be sharing with us his contacts towards the end so that you can be able to reach out to him easily and seamlessly. So without for the interest of time, we'll just go into the first question, Mr. TK. Uh, what do you understand by education, or what do you consider education to be in your own simple terms? How would you define education?
So for me, education is the ability to learn, the willingness to learn and to learn
Mm,
things that you previously did not know. So there are different
yeah,
ways for you to learn and to educate. You can do formal education, which means you enroll for a formal qualification, or you can
yeah,
also do informal education, which many people always undermine. Informal education can be on the job training. It could be job shadowing. It could be learning from other people. It could also be through mentoring. There is also online learning, which you can do where you enroll for an online course, whether it's paid for or whether it is a free course. So there's many ways for us to learn, but it all depends on what you want to achieve. In my specific case, I do a lot of mixing of the two. I mean, of the three I spoke about, online courses. I do formal learning if I want to actually get a qualification. And I also do on the job or informal way of learning, because for me, like I mentioned, lifelong learning is very important to me. For me, I also see education as a form of investment. Why would I say as a form of investment?
mhm,
So an investment, for all terms and purposes, is you have something that's going to generate you income. Whether the income is passive or whether the income is paid in dividends or as an interest. So for me, how I see my education is I go
mhm,
to learning to a learning institution of higher education, and I
Mm-hmm.
come back with a qualification. What I do
Mm-hmm.
with that qualification really opens doors for me. I'll give you an example. After I completed my master's degree, I
Mm-hmm.
then started over and above my current job and the work that I do through TK Consultancy. I was able to go into part-time lecturing, which means that the master's qualification that I got was starting to yield another source of income. So for me, from an investment point of view, if I'm
Mm-hmm.
able to generate additional sources of income, is that not an income generating asset? Second,
Absolutely, it is.
exactly. Second way, so after I did my honors in financial management, I now understand personal finances. And what I do with the knowledge that I have, I'm able to write articles for different publications and I get paid for it, you know. So is that not
Mm-hmm.
income generating? And is that not an asset, which is my brain and my intellectual? So for me, when I speak about education, yes, you can get the qualification, but what you do or what that qualification can do for you really makes a big difference. Yeah. So for me, I consider education as an investment in yourself because you are sharpening your skills, you are sharpening your mind, you are sharpening your ability, technical abilities, and your soft skills. Because when you are doing education, your thinking becomes different. You are able to interact with other people. You are able to build a network of people. And that network, for all terms and purposes, is an asset. Because we always say, Sheila, your network determines your net worth, you know?
True. Yeah. Yeah, that is very true. I actually like the fact that you said education, the education depends with what you're going to do with it at the end. What you're going to do with the end product really defines what education is to
Mm,
you and to the people around you. And this clearly explains why we have so many people who are learned or they have qualifications, but um, to a layman, it's not considered education because this
mm,
person, they don't use that education anymore. It's like they just went to get the papers, have their names on a paper, then that is it. And
absolutely.
I believe it's time we start to view education from that perspective. Don't just study to have your name on a degree
Mm,
or on a certificate, but look at the end product. What am I going to do with that education? It will help you define what education is, right?
mm. And I think Sheila, just to add on to what you just said now, is I have
Mm,
people who are trained as accountants who are not
mm,
in the accounting field, you know,
field,
but they are able
exactly.
to use that skill. I've got a friend who is an accountant, qualified accountant, but she is in
Mm,
strategy, you know. I've got an accountant
yeah.
who is now doing photography and cinematography, you know. So that
Mm,
person is bringing in the skills as an accountant, but they are using it in the business that they are in. You know, I have an accountant, I've got a friend who's trained as an engineer, and she's not
mm,
practicing engineering at all. She is in the hospitality industry. You know what I mean? So for me,
yeah.
qualification is an enabler, you know, it's an enabler to whatever you want to do. And many a time we tend to think that your qualification, just because you are trained as a finance graduate, you have to be in finance.
Mm,
For the longest
mm,
of time, I'm a finance graduate, but I'm in sales, you know? So the idea is how do I combine sales with finance? And I am doing that, you know, because you can teach a client finance
mm,
while doing sales, you know. So
yeah.
let's also not limit us to what the qualification you have entails, you know.
Mm, mm. And exactly. And one thing I've come to realize from the conversation we are having is that if you view education with the end product in mind, like what skills am I going to get, you realize you are able to create income streams through education. Just an example, you just said of
Mm,
your first job, you were able to be a lecturer based on the education you got aside from your first job. You are
Mm.
able to be a contributor to certain blogs and websites, writing articles for them based on the education you got. So I think it's time that we change our definition of education. Don't go just for the title. I always say having a degree in finance doesn't mean you are financially literate. The same case, being financially literate doesn't mean you are a person who is working in finance and all that. Of course, there's an aspect that you need that, but it's time we redefine education, because it has brought us a mindset that since I have this degree, I'm not gonna do anything else. You know, people are underestimating education, for the lack of a better word to say. Um, with that said, TK, what do you think? You already said about types of education. You mentioned them. Maybe you could explain to us more deeper, because you said something like informal education, formal education. So, would you
Okay.
mind like going deeper
All
on
right.
that?
No, absolutely. So I think depending on where you are, but generally
Mm,
globally, there's what we call formal education. So this is where
yeah.
you go to a university or an institution of higher learning, like a
Mm,
university or a technicon or a college or, yeah, those type of formal institutions where you can actually sit down and actually enroll with that institution for a number of years or a couple of months. The second
yeah.
one is what we call short-term or short learning courses. So, for example, like the course I've just completed now, which is a 12-week course, short course
Mm,
focusing on a particular topic or subject or particular subject. That's also the
mm,
option, which you can also do either with an online institution
mm,
or an actual university that provides such services. The other thing that I'm also
yeah.
learning now in the fourth industrial revolution or the digital era, there's so many online
Mm,
courses that we can do. Google has, I think, Google Digital has a lot of amazing courses. Universities such as Curacela have a lot of, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but there's
mm,
a lot of online courses that universities are now starting to offer. I know via LinkedIn as well, you can also start doing short courses that are amazing. So that's another form of learning. But on the other side, excuse me. So on the other side as well, there's also the option of on-the-job training. So for
mm,
example, I'm working for Financial Wellness Center, but I
yeah.
do not have a finance background. I have a business administration background. So what that means is working with Sheila is able to then teach me on the job. So that's another way of learning. People are able to learn through YouTube. So people can come to your platform, Sheila, at the Financial Wellness Center YouTube channel, and they can learn personal finances from from the YouTube channel. That's another way of learning. So the other way is, so that's the formal, there's the online, there's YouTube, there's blogs. People can learn from
Mhm.
blogs. And then the other way you can actually learn, which is education, is through books. Whether you're reading ebooks or audiobooks, or the actual hard copies, that's another way of learning. The other ways of learning, which also forms part of the informal but formal ones, is we can go to a workshop. TKO Consultancy hosts a workshop or a webinar. That's another way to learn. Financial Wellness Center and TKO Consultancy work hand in hand to provide a webinar or a podcast. The other way that I'm starting to learn a lot is through
Mhm.
podcasts. So in the morning, I wake up and I'm just playing the podcast on my phone. And through that, I'm learning so much more. So when I say I'm a lifelong learner, is there are many ways for us to learn. You don't necessarily have to have a qualification to learn new
Yeah.
things. We can have through this conversation, I'm already learning so much. So those are the different ways I feel like people can really sharpen the skills and learn. The other day I was learning a lot through a Twitter thread, social media. I'm like, wow, guys.
Mhm.
So this guy was really teaching me new things about personal finances that I did not know. All right. So I think we've lost Sheila. for a bit. So while she rejoins the conversation, I would like to find out from you guys, how has the journey with the Financial Wellness Center been? What have you guys learned over the last couple of years? And Sheila is making her way back. I took over your channel for a bit.
No problem. I think I'm facing trouble with my camera. Let me just try to fix it.
Okay, all right.
You can go. You can go on. Sorry
I
for
was
that.
asking them how the journey has been with the Financial Wellness Center.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Mm. So I think while you're fixing your camera, maybe I should share what the type of qualifications I've done thus far. So in my first year, I did a BCom Financial Management with the University of Pretoria in South Africa. And then the
Mm,
second qualification, which was a 3-year course, the second qualification was a BCom Honors in Financial Management, still with the same university. I then came
mm,
back home to Lesotho and I was really stressed out and depressed and frustrated. And then eventually I enrolled for a second honors degree with the University of the Free State in South Africa as well, where I did a management accounting honors degree. And then the fourth qualification was a Master's of Commerce, which was purely research with the University of Pretoria. And then the last one that I've just recently completed now is a postgraduate diploma in financial planning. So now you may be wondering how I'm affording all of these. Again, depending on the university or the country you are in, some universities actually pay you, well, pay for you through in the form of sponsorship or a bursary for you to actually do a master's research. So what universities tend to do is they want you to do a master's or a PhD. And as an incentive for you to do that, then they do give you a bursary towards that. But the other thing that I've done, particularly with the fifth qualification that I did, which is the postgraduate in financial planning law, is actually saved up for it. I actually saved up for it and I put money away and I did a lot of different projects just to raise the funding for it. But why did I do that, or why was that important for me? Well, that was important for me because one, I needed the skills to build the business that I'm building, which is TKO Consultancy. And then secondly, I needed to have the qualification and the skills and the competency such that when I do work with the clients that I have, I know exactly what I'm talking about. So being a subject matter expert or working towards being a subject matter expert means that you have to invest in your development. And for me, the rewards I am starting to see now that I've done the qualification are absolutely incredible. The value that I'm bringing to the clients that I work with, the value that I'm bringing to the work that I'm doing now is really quite amazing. The quality, the value, the standard that I'm operating in. So when you look at education in that regard, to say that I'm using this as a tool for me to sharpen my skills, to improve who I am and the quality of the work that I do, then it really, really does become important. But with that said, the financial implication is also quite steep. The financial implication is really quite steep. Welcome, Sheila. So I've just
thank
shared
you
with the
so much.
audience, yeah, the qualifications that I've done and the financial implications thereof. But beyond
Yeah,
that, I also touched a bit on the benefits
yeah.
that
I
I'm
was
starting to
following.
see.
I was listening to you
Oh,
actually. I
so I
was-
don't know if you have any specific questions from what I was saying while we were dealing with the.
Yeah, I got you saying that from the education you got, it has helped you. You started with, you did BCom, you all that you studied in your
Yeah.
first year, your first degree has helped you in serving your customers currently. So you can maybe wind up on that, then you go to the next question.
Yeah. So it really has. It really has. And I feel like I mentioned, I've just completed a 12-week financial coaching
Mm,
qualification or short course. And what I'm starting to see from that is with the work that we do, Sheila, you'll do a financial wellness session. And beyond that, the customer will come to you and say, how do I actually get my finances right? So what I've started to
yeah.
see with obviously had to pay for that course, which was quite a
mm,
substantial amount, but
mm,
the benefits and the value that I saw post that is the kind of conversations I now have with my clients has really
mm,
changed, has really
yeah.
changed because now I'm starting to incorporate all these different skills and frameworks and tools that I have to make a
Mm,
meaningful conversation with my clients. So when I do say that education is really an investment, it's you
mm,
developing yourself, it's you sharpening your mind, it's you bringing value to the customers and to the work that you do, but also again credibility
yeah.
credibility yeah.
I totally agree with you, especially it's very important for you to keep yourself updated with whatever you're doing. For example, if you are in photography, maybe you never studied photography in school, you don't have a degree in photography, but you decided to do a business in photography. It's important for you to stay updated with things concerning photography. And this is where most people tend to um, overlook. You find that someone, yes, they didn't study photography in school, but they are doing photography as a business or as a career now. Then they stagnate, so they don't study anything about photography at all, and they think, education is not, it's not that important, so long as I'm getting clients. But with time, your clients also are getting smart. You need to be ahead of them. You need to bring them new uh something that will keep them, and that can only be gotten when you do education, either formally, informally, or as TK also introduced another one, short courses. You don't have to go for 4 years to do a course for your side business. You can choose to do a 1 month program or 2 months program. As well as, if you are in business, it's important for you to take up financial courses. That is what Financial Wellness Center and TKO Consultancy is focused on. Don't not just because since your business is maybe selling clothes, you think that you don't need to be aware of money. So long as you are handling money, you need to be financially literate, and you can always visit either of us so that you can be equipped. So, TK, we can go to the next question. I believe we've already answered it, which is like, is education an investment or a consumption? I wanted to say, is education a scam? Let's use that word, because that is what a lot of people have painted out there. They're like, education is a scam. So, do you think it's a scam or it's an investment? You've really discussed about the investment side of education. Maybe you could
Mm,
share with
mm,
us, do you think it's a consumption thing? Because imagine you're going to school for 4 years, you are paying school fees, you are spending maybe 80% of your time in school. Then once you finish, um you end up not getting an um income stream or a job or a
mm,
business or something that can get you money. So you find that if it's your family that helped you study, they feel like that education was just for consumption purposes, or because
mm,
you cannot give them that paper, or you cannot bring those papers and present them to your landlord or to your bills and tell them, you know what, electricity bill, here I am, I have my degree, sort yourself. You can't do
mm.
that.
So
So,
I think firstly, personally, I
mhm,
don't believe that education is a scam. And the reason I
mm,
say I don't believe it's a scam is yes,
mm,
you may have spent money for 4 years,
yeah,
money,
yeah,
time, resources trying to get this qualification. But
yeah,
when all is done and said, when you look back to who you were when you started the
mm,
qualification to who you
mm,
are at the end of the qualification, that is not a scam because you have
mm,
changed in the way you dress, you have changed in the way that you think, you have changed in the way that you write, you have a, how you show up in the world has really changed and it has transformed you in a way that you don't, So for me, I feel like we need to recognize and acknowledge that change firstly. And if that's a scam, I don't know what, then I'm not convinced, So I don't believe it's a scam. The second part is the skills that you have. I always say it's not about I won't be naive to say that unemployment is not a reality. Unemployment is
Mm,
big across the African continent. We have a lot of young people who are unemployed, but with
yeah.
qualifications. So
Mm,
already you having a qualification is already a competitive advantage compared to somebody else who doesn't. So I always say, for me, when I speak about money, I speak about the three M's: the mindset. The
mm,
mindset is the starting point. So if you're
yeah.
already thinking that education is a scam, it means that you are attracting negativity in your life. The second part is, yes, you may not have the money yet, but how can you use that qualification to make the money? I've seen graduates
Exactly.
who are now going into agriculture. I've seen graduates
Mm,
who are able to sell apples
mm,
on the street. I've
mm,
seen graduates who are now starting baking. They sell cakes for a living. So for me, what I'm saying
yeah.
is the mindset. Just because you have a BCom or a Bachelor's of Commerce in accounting qualification, is a
Mm,
qualification. It's not a what you might call it. It's not a career. It's not a career. It's a
mm,
qualification. It just says that you have skills and you've been trained in this, but you still need to take those skills and apply them. And that's where the change is. That's where the mindset comes in. So last yesterday, I was reading a post from one of my friends who has a hospitality business, a guest house, and he was complaining that he actually employed two young graduates, but they
mm,
quit within after doing the training. And the reason they quit is not because the salary was not good. It's just that they wanted more salaries. And you know what I mean is they had the qualification, but they don't have the practical skills. They don't have the experience. So a qualification, the education is step one of the process of the journey. So you need to let's stop being arrogant. Let's stop being entitled as graduates, and let's stop thinking that things are going to work out how we see them. The qualification is step one. It opens the door. It means that you can have a conversation with TK or consultancy or with the Financial Wellness Center, but we still
mm.
need to see your mindset. We still need to see your attitude. We still need to see your hunger, your determination. So when you say education is a scam, you really are selling yourself short, because that skill that you have can transform your life in unimaginable ways. We already spoke about the photographer that is watching YouTube videos, that is practicing every single day. Somebody who's trained as a photographer can be outperformed by somebody who did not have a qualification in photography, but has the heart, the work ethic, and the drive. So for me, it's a mindset. So education, it really is not a scam. It is not a scam. Put in the work, apply the skills, it will pay off. Yes, unemployment is real. I'm not naive enough to say that, but qualification is a tool to get you to where you want to go.
I like that. I really, really like that segment. Education should be a vehicle to
Mm,
take you to where you want to go, but it shouldn't be your destination. You
absolutely.
shouldn't think like, now that I have a degree in BCom, or I have a degree in engineering, I have a degree in culinary, I only need to do things on culinary, or I only need to build my career on that. It's when you view education as a way of transformation, you will not even look at the grades that much, but you will look at what information am I getting, what skills am I getting, what networks am I building. I've seen quite a number of my friends who, by reason of going to a certain institution, their network automatically changed. So they really did not pass in that whatever they went to take, the degree or whatever they went to take, but they came out not just with the qualification, but with a network that is net worth. They came out, the way they speak, it's totally different from how a village person can speak. Personally, when I went to university, when I came out, I was a totally different person. I was cultured, I was transformed, I was this person who could present myself. It when I compared it to when I joined the school right before, I couldn't even present myself. I wasn't that courageous. But simply by being in that environment, it transformed me. So when we start to view education in such a way, not just as a tool to give you a job or put bread on your table, then we'll become more focused on what can I do with the information I'm getting in school. Because now what people look at is, when will I get this grade? If it's A or B, when will I get the grade? But they don't focus on the information I've gotten. How can I apply it to solve a problem in the market? Right? So when we start to view education in such a way, you'll find that, I'm not saying the problem of unemployment will not be there. It will be there, maybe for quite a long time, because again, our population is rapidly increasing compared to the resources that are being created. But what I'm saying, when you go to school, go with the ideology that you are going to transform your mindset. You are going to invest in you. You're not just going to get a paper to get a job. You're going to use the information to make something out of it. I think that is what education is, right, TK?
I think I absolutely agree with you. And I think as an add-on to what you said, I've seen
Mhm.
people who are already in corporate,
Yeah.
corporate or
Mm,
who are working, go
mm,
to universities or go back to business schools to say that I'm going to do my master's in business administration or my MBA. And
yeah.
when I come back, I need to get a promotion. And then they come
Mm-hmm.
back and then they don't get the
Mm-hmm.
promotion and then they're depressed. Then my question has always been, why are you doing a qualification to get a promotion? If you're saying I'm going to do an MBA to empower myself because I want to position myself as a thought leader when it comes to a specific topic, the approach is
Mm-hmm.
completely different. So when you do come
Yes.
back, and like you mentioned, an MBA, if you've done an MBA, it will transform, it will change your life and the network. So when you
Mm,
come back a completely different person. Whether their employer sees it or not, but the fact that you
yeah.
see it, it means that you have done something to empower yourself. So I absolutely agree with that we always undermine the networks and the change that happens. I know after my master's degree, Sheila, I
Mm,
the way I write my emails, the way I write letters, memos, my writing has
mm,
completely transformed. And when somebody
yeah.
sends me an email with uh, grammatical errors, and I really get annoyed, but I also understand that the process that I've gone through when I do
Mm,
referencing, I don't just go to the internet and get stuff from the internet. I have to make sure that my sources are verified and they're valid. I would not have otherwise known that had I not gone through
mm,
the education system. So there's soft skills that we learn, like you mentioned, presentation skills. How do you dress up to
mm,
go to a meeting? How do you
mm,
speak to people? Eye contact,
mm,
body language, things that we often
yes.
take for granted. So when
Mm,
people say education is a scam, I really
mm.
get so disheartened because the transformation that happens is transformative. Yeah.
Totally, I totally agree with you. I can see there are some people who've joined us. Jaren Njogu, you're saying hello, guys. Hello, too. We are so happy to see you on this live session. Keep on sharing the link as and of course, keep on posting your question as our guest speaker, Mr. Tiken Thebe, all the way from Lesotho, or Kingdom of Lesotho. We'll be more than happy to answer most of your questions regarding education, as well as if you feel that you are in a dilemma in making a certain decision regarding education. This is the time you need to ask, so that we can share with you our ideologies and what we think to just help you be able to make a well-informed decision. I can see in Chaka you are saying the decision that an educated person takes are totally different from one who didn't go to school. Hence, I agree with you guys that education is an investment. Thank you so much, Chaka, for joining us. And we totally concur with you with what you just posted, that education is an investment depending with the perspective you are getting the education with. Remember when I believe in the 90s and 80s, most of our parents, they were told go to school, so that's because education is the key, which I totally agree. Education is the key, but you need to know how to make it a key. Them, when they were told education is a key, what they were given as the mindset is you go to school, finish, get a job in that qualification. Then if you want to go higher, study again to be promoted. Now, I usually wonder now, if I want, for example, if I join a company and I'm targeting to be a CEO, if I'm going to use the line of going to get qualifications and papers to be promoted, how long will that take? Now, what if I lose that job altogether? What will I do with the qualifications that I got, since my mindset was focused on getting a job to be promoted? It's high time we need to think like, yes, it's okay to get a qualification for the sake of being promoted, but also think of, what if I don't get promoted? Will this degree still make sense? Will this qualification still help me do something to myself? Anyway, I don't want to be the guest speaker. So I'll go to the next question, TK. Well, why is education an investment in human wealth, or what other people call human capital? Why do you think we should, say like education is an investment in human capital?
Yeah. So I think for the longest time, there's always been this function called human resources,
Yeah.
and how people were seen as resources, which was really quite limiting and quite backward, And then there's been this transition to human capital, because just like capital, for those who don't know what it is, capital is, for if I want to start a business, that amount of money that I put into the business to start the business, to generate more assets and to build the business. Human capital really should be seen as that. And most companies are starting to transform from human resources to human capital. So for me, education is a backbone, more so during the COVID era. People have lost their jobs, people who've been
Yeah.
stuck in the same position, like you mentioned, working hard to get promoted to become the CEO or the chief executive officer. Suddenly COVID comes in and they literally just wipes out the qualification, or not the qualification, but that journey they've been on for so many years, comes in.
Yeah.
And besides COVID, here comes the fourth industrial revolution. It's also making a lot of roles irrelevant, It's There's automation, there is artificial intelligence, there's machine learning. So when we say human capital versus human resources, the capital needs to be sharpened. They say that from a business perspective, the more capital you invest, the more you are able to expand your business. So in the same way, from a human capital point of view, the more you sharpen your mind, the more you develop yourself, you become relevant. So comes the fourth industrial revolution, you are still relevant. And when we say that, the world has moved away from the technical skills that we learn, accountancy, engineering, to now more
Yeah.
softer skills. Are you able to collaborate with people? Are you able to be a critical thinker? Are you able to
Exactly.
problem solve? Those skills you learn, you can only get from educating yourself. And again, going back to what we said, you don't have to necessarily sit in a 6-month, or well, a 6-year qualification training if you want to do that. Coding, you can do a 3-month coding program. I did
Yeah.
not know how to edit videos.
Mm.
I mentioned I was a content creator. I did not know how to edit videos. I did not know how to edit podcasts. Sitting down on the internet, on YouTube, I learned how to do that. People who do not know how to code, they're able to do coding. For me, that is human capital. You are sitting there
Mm,
saying, how do I make myself relevant for the time that we are
mm,
in now? And when you
mm,
say, the question is, how do I make myself relevant? Not to
mm.
say, how do I make myself more employable?
Oh yeah.
Employability is
Mm,
important, but how do you make yourself relevant in today's age? And that's where we need to be investing in our development and investing in becoming better people, better thinkers, better collaborators, better team players, problem solvers.
yeah.
The world now needs problem solvers. They don't need employees. They need,
Yeah.
and again, the beauty of the internet. I'm in Lesotho, you are in Dubai, and we're having a conversation. That also means that I could be using my skills and resources from Lesotho, working with a
Yeah.
client in Dubai. Human capital has
Yeah.
become that transformational. So, guys, if you're still sitting there thinking education is a scam, mm-mm, mm-mm.
Think twice. Exactly. I totally concur with you. Education is not a scam, but your mindset while acquiring that education matters a lot, and and what you do with the end product is
Mm.
very, very important. If you're going to go to a 6 months program, how will you come out? Don't just come out with the paper and yet you cannot express yourself. I have seen this especially for the period I've had the chance to interact with a lot of employers. They tell you that we do have positions for sure, but the problem is whenever I interview someone who has certain qualifications that we've listed in the job description, this person cannot express themselves. So you find the qualification and the person, they are two different things. The qualification says excellent person, but this person, when you come to see them either on video or on what physical, they cannot express themselves. They do not have interpersonal skills. Another one even highlighted to me that he tried to interview someone and the person didn't know about the simple words that we usually use, like please, thank you, sorry, welcome. The person didn't use them at all, and there were opportunities where he needed to use that. So you realize that it's time we change our minds. Don't just go for the grade, go for the transformation of your mind, so that when you come out here, yes, you might be having a degree in engineering, but if you walk into a financial institution, they can listen to you, not because of the degree, but because of your presentation, because of your thought process, because of your thinking in problem solving, and of course building relationships. Of course, not romantic ones, but building relationships is something that is very, very important, right, GK? And that one you get,
Relationships is everything, but keep them professional. Keep them professional.
yes, yes, yes.
Unless you really have found unconditional love in this person, but keep it professional. But I absolutely agree with you, and the soft skills that comes with the transformation, the process that we
Mm,
go through, are really, really important, because at the end of the day,
mm,
when we are working, wherever you are working, you don't bring your qualification around. You bring the skills
yeah,
and you bring your personality, you bring who you are.
oh
So
yeah,
we need to, like you're rightfully saying, we need to shift away from I'm going to get this qualification so I can do this. You need to go through the process and the changes that come with that. And the qualification and the skills should be a part of who you are. And
mm,
that's when we say, when I'll also again touch a bit on personal branding. The qualification
yeah,
that you also have is part of your personal brand, because it becomes part of who you are. How you show up, how you dress up, the
mm,
simple words such as please and thank you, and acknowledging
mm,
people and being able to work with people. That is a skill,
exactly,
and that
yeah,
is also education, because you can learn how to work with people. You can learn how to be empathetic. You can learn
mm,
how to be. We are now moving into the agile methodology. How do we
yeah,
bring in the agility into the work that we do? Those are skills that you learn through being educated, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So having the spirit of life, the willingness to learn, the willingness
Mm-hmm.
to put yourself out there, that is also
Mm-hmm.
part of education.
Right, you are very
Mm.
right. I like the point where you said we don't walk around with our degrees stuck on our face, like, guys, I'm this. No, 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 no. Your soft skills tell a lot about you. How you communicate, how you walk around, how you carry yourself will tell us if you really went through an institution, or you've been. Of course, it's not education is not just about going to an institution. Even reading your own personal books, informal education, or sitting with someone, or doing an on job kind of education tells a lot as compared to someone who disregards anything to do with education. And as we are about to wind up, I encourage our audience, this is the time you can feel free to write in your questions. You can share with us your ideas. Do you think education is an investment or consumption or a scam? Share with us what you think. Let us know how you feel about education. If you've been educated either formally or informally, we would love to hear from you. Do you consider the education you got as an investment? If yes, how? Or you consider it as a consumption that you just spent all your money and there is no result to it? So you can share with us in the comments. So TK, as we are about to end, how does education affect employment and the economy at large? For this one, I'd like you to touch base on why do we have a lot of learned fellows out here, but at the same time, we have the highest level of unemployment. And at the same time, how is that affecting our economy? Maybe you could give us that wisdom.
I think that's the hardest question. I looked at it, I was like, whoo. you know.
I
So for
knew.
me, I will start with let me look at the question just so that okay. So how does education affect employment? So for
Yeah.
me, I'll say education affects employment in two ways. I'll focus
Mm-hmm.
on two ways. Firstly, it affects it in a positive way, and then the second
Mm-hmm.
part will be the negative way. You know, so
Mm-hmm.
from a positive point of view, is from an employment perspective, as an employer, the more educated and well vested your workforce is, your employees in
Mm-hmm.
this case, the more
Mm-hmm.
productive and the more great when you have a workforce that's educated and that's really inspiring, it means that you can come up with new solutions. It means that you can become a disruptor in what you do. And we've seen companies that are at the peak of what they're doing because they have the sharpest minds in the business. But again, if these sharp minds are just walking around with the qualifications but aren't applying the qualifications, then it really is becoming quite useless for the company. Secondly, is when most companies see training or educating the people as an expense. And for
Yeah.
me, I saw a post recently that says that if you don't train your people because you are scared that when they leave, you would have wasted that money on them. But
Mm-hmm.
the downside of it also exists to say that if you aren't sharpening your people or training and developing your people, it's also a risk to
Mm-hmm.
your business because most likely they stay. So
Yeah.
any employer does not want that kind of people, undeveloped, untrained,
Mm-hmm.
uneducated in the business because it's a cost. You're no
Yeah.
longer looking at the human capital. You're now looking at a resource, which is not necessarily
Yeah.
the best idea. So for me, I
Mm-hmm.
believe that education plays a big part in the employment space because it creates
Mm-hmm.
opportunities. It creates an environment. I spoke about agility. I spoke about the fourth industrial revolution. If education
Mm-hmm.
comes in, it means that you are able to retrain your workforce to come up with new
Mm-hmm.
solutions. You are able to move from the traditional way of doing things towards a more agile way of doing things. So education becomes very, very important. New solutions, new ideas. Whoever thought of Uber? Whoever thought of Airbnb? Whoever thought of all these amazing, solutions that are coming up? Education becomes very, very critical. How does it
Mm-hmm.
affect the economy? So
Mm-hmm.
I'll use Lesotho or Kenya as an example. If we have a lot of educated people, but that aren't
Mm-hmm.
employed, it means that there is no money. We're not generating money from that, because how an economy functions is when people are working or earning, there's taxes that we are paying, all right? There's spending around that goes, there's what we call the gross domestic product that goes around. And then now
Yeah.
there's interest rates, loans, banks are able to give these people loans, they're able to buy houses, they're able to support
Mm.
businesses. So when there is no opportunities, it means that the
Mm-hmm.
economy is suffering and there's no money going around. And the worst part is we have these assets that are sitting down, not generating income. So the one thing we
Yeah.
don't want is, as a business person, as a community, as an economy, you don't want to have assets that are sitting around or lying around, not generating an income. If I have a machine as a business person and that machine is not working, it means it's not generating me income. In this particular
Mm.
case, when graduates are unemployed, they are assets that are not generating income for the economy, you know. So
I like that.
education becomes very, very important because the more educated we are, but if we're not
Mm.
able to tap into that knowledge, it means that we are losing the assets and the assets are not generating income. So that's why it's important. But again, it also creates opportunities for us to think differently. I
Mm.
don't necessarily have the solutions to how we can solve unemployment. But for me,
Mm.
I'm thinking from my experience is a lot of young people don't be
Mm-hmm.
shy to start from the ground, from the bottom. I've heard
Yes.
graduates with qualifications at a master's level to say that I will not be an intern because of my master's degree. I've heard people with qualifications say that that job is beneath me, you know. So for me, it
Mm.
goes back to the mindset again to say that let's not be shy to start at the very bottom. You are not
Yeah.
too big for any position, you are not too small for any position. It's a
Mm.
mindset. Where do you want to go? Why did you do the qualification? How can you use a qualification? How can you collaborate with somebody that will do that? But from an economy point of view, let's also
Mm-hmm.
normalize volunteering. Let's also normalize
Yeah.
volunteering. It's a start.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you may not get the money at that point in time, but the
Yeah.
network you get, the connection you
Mm.
get really makes a big
Mm.
difference and it can open up doors for you. So
Yeah.
let's keep an open mind. Yeah. I hope
Mm-hmm.
I answered the question.
Yeah, yeah, you did, you did answer it very well. I like the ideology that you gave.
Yeah.
Um, you wanna say something?
No. I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, as you said, it's very important, the education we get, don't just focus on uh, since I have this qualification, you put a bar on yourself that
Mm.
I have to get to start off at a managerial position, or I have to start off as a CEO. Or it's important for us to go with the mindset that yes, I have this education, but there are opportunities that will come, and in these opportunities we will be able to learn certain characteristics or skills. For example, an entry level job could teach you a characteristic like timekeeping, or something like being able to relate well with your seniors, because when you are an intern, you won't throw the shots like a manager. You won't be talking like that. You have to learn the vertical and those horizontal kind of communication skills. So I think it's very important for us to do everything with an open mind, especially when it comes to education. Don't study for just to have the grade. Study to transform or be a problem solver. Sit down and think, yes, I attended this class. Fine. But now I am not getting a job in that industry. What can I do with this knowledge that I have? Should I start a company? Should I start? Just try and see the others and think outside of the box, because or even stay away from the box completely and do something else. As we wind up, Chike, I've seen, I don't know about Lesotho, but I have seen a lot of countries, they give people money to study. They lend people money to study. And for some years, we've seen a lot of people, they immediately they graduate. It's like they graduate from a negative standpoint because they graduate with a debt already, student loan. So, do you think money affects education?
I think it does. I think it
Mm,
does. I'll talk about my personal journey.
mm,
So for my first degree, from a Lesotho perspective, is the Lesotho government normally gives its students or citizens a loan bursary. So part
mm,
of the funding is a bursary, but the other part is a loan that you have to pay
mm,
back. So yes,
mm,
unfortunately, when you start working or you finish university, you already have student debt. But then
yeah,
again, there's two ways to look at it.
mm,
Student debt is a reality that most of us go through. And
yeah,
if you're not fortunate enough to have a full bursary, it means that you will
mm,
start off on a negative. But then again, the negative is already, again, the mindset. Yes,
mm,
you have the student debt, but what can you do with a qualification? You can find a
yeah,
job, you can start a business, and
mm,
you can pay off the
mm,
student debt. And normally, these
yeah,
student debt very expensive because education is
mm,
really quite pricey. But you can
mm,
get out of debt. So the one mistake that a lot of students come make, myself included, is I got out of university and I was like, I'm not going to pay the student debt. It's your obligation. It's your obligation, and that student debt has given you a skill and an opportunity to be somebody else. So I have then go back, and I then had to force myself to go back and say, I'm going to start paying off the student debt, because just like any other loan or debt that I have the
mm,
responsibility. And luckily,
mm,
most student loans, the interest rate is really low, or
yeah,
no interest rate at all. So that's already an
mm,
added advantage to say that you aren't necessarily paying high interest rate. So you can pace yourself,
mm,
start small, and then commit to paying it off in a year, 2, 3 years, you probably pay it off. So
yeah,
it is unfortunately that way. But for me, I started looking at it to say that, yes, I have student loan, I have a loan, but this is
mm.
good debt because it has improved my skills.
Transforms you.
It's not like it has
Yes.
transformed me. It's not like it's a loan that I took to go on a holiday, or to on a clothing account that we spoke about in the last video, or money that I gave to my sibling.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
see it as good debt, because just like I would buy an income generating asset using a
mm,
loan, I have
yeah,
a piece of paper that has transformed
mm,
my
mm,
thinking and my way of life. So it is unfortunately that way. But if you do have a bursary, then you are great. But again, the bursary also comes at a cost, because normally, I don't know if it's the same in the Kenyan set market. When a company has given you funding, unfortunately, they're going to tie you down for a specific period, because you need to sort of work back. So if you quantify that as well, it's also money that you have to do. But again, the mindset, when you go to a company, they give you money to get an education, and you come back and you have a job and they're paying you a stipend or a salary if you're lucky. The connections that you have to build, the experience that you have to get, that will transform your life. So let us trust the process, guys. Let's trust the process and go through the process. Not easy, but it's possible. The mindset, the financial goals, the life goals.
you are totally right. The mindset is everything, especially when it comes to education. It's a high time we stop looking at education as just getting grades and piling up
Mm,
certificates and all that. But we should start to look at it as more of transformation. I'm
mm,
transforming my mind. I'm opening up myself to better possibilities. I'm building my network. I want to improve my skills out there, not because I want to have grade ABC to just be, be known that, yeah, she has this and this and this, then the person cannot present himself, the person cannot start anything. It's high time we start seeing education as an investment, self-investment. I see a lot of people say, oh, I went for vacation because of that's part of myself investment. Like, I wanna ensure that my health is okay, which is very right. But again, mind investment. You need to invest in your mind, and one way to invest in your mind is through education. It can be formal or informal, or you can do short courses just to ensure you are staying on top of everything and becoming the better person. So I believe from this discussion, I can say my answer to the question is, maybe TK, you should say first. Guests are the one who are given the first priority. So what's your answer? Is education a scam,
Is
consumption,
it
or investment?
so? For me personally, like Nelson Mandela once said, education is the most powerful tool you can use to change the world. So with
Mm-hmm.
that said, I don't believe that it's a scam. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
you may have paid a lot of money to get it, and you may not
Mm,
be seeing the benefits as yet, but it's not a
yeah.
scam because it has
Mm,
transformed your life, it has transformed your thinking. It's a
mm,
consumption. Well,
mm.
it could be a consumption because some people can just go to university to
Have
consume the
fun.
knowledge, consume the knowledge. But for me personally, education is an investment. I am monetizing my education. I am
Mm-hmm.
networking. It's opening doors to opportunities that did not would not otherwise exist. I'm getting seats at tables I would not otherwise have seats in. So for me, it's an investment, not just because it's making me money, but because I get to work with amazing people and I get to have a conversation with them and I'm not intimidated because I
Mm.
have sharpened my skills. So definitely, definitely, definitely an investment. So self invest in yourself, invest in your mind. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree with you that education is an investment. Maybe to touch base, at some point, education can be viewed as a consumption when you invest a lot of money in the program, but you do not utilize the skills that you come out with from that program. You do not utilize the technical or the knowledge you get from that education program. So in such an instance, we can say that your education was a consumption thing, because it's not just more about money. It's what did it do to you? Did If you went through a 6 months program and you are still the same person right now, then it means that the education did not really do much to you. So we can say education can become a consumption if there is no notable transformation experienced either in your mind, in your life, in your general life, not necessarily the income brackets. So on my end as well, I agree with you, and I believe most of the people in the audience will agree that education is an investment, provided that you approach it with the right mindset. Don't If you are watching us and you're currently in school, especially for those who are taking undergraduate courses, there is this tendency that most people tell you while you are still in undergraduate that, you know what, education is nothing. And I've seen quite a number of people tend to drop out of school, not because there were no finances, not because they of other things, but because people started telling them education is nothing. This education can't help you. If you are still in school, it's very important for you to know that education is an investment to yourself, to your future, and even to your net worth. So if you're still in school, just forget what people tell you out here, because people go with the line that, okay, Education is nothing. You see in the market, everybody is unemployed, so don't take it seriously. So you find a lot of people dropping out, not because they lacked resources, but because they thought education is a scam, only to
Mm,
come out here and find that even if you dropped out, you will need to sharpen yourself. You will need to study,
mm,
because there are doors that can only open when you're good in interpersonal skills. There are
mm,
opportunities that can only open when you're good with networking. So,
mm.
as we
And
wind
I
the
think,
session, yes.
yeah, I think just as a last thought is when
Mm-hmm.
people are dropping out to because education is useless, to start a
Mm,
business, which is not a bad idea,
yeah.
depending on your
Mm,
situation. But at some
mm,
point, it will catch up because when you have to write proposals, when you have to do invoicing, when you have to do the
mm,
simple things that we take for granted, it becomes a challenge. So even
yeah.
if you are starting a business, make sure that you're educating yourself about the business,
Mm,
about the industry, about so whether again goes back to what we spoke about earlier on, formal versus informal. Maybe
mm-hmm.
you formal education is not the most suitable for you, but you still have to
Yeah.
get yourself educated. So education, like you're saying, it really honestly is an investment for yourself, for your business, for your community, and for your country. Mm.
Totally agree with you. And to our audience, thank you so much for being with us during this session. We really appreciate you. In case you have any question, this is the time you can write your question in the chat box, and we shall be more than happy to answer. Meanwhile, TK, maybe you can give us your closing remarks as we wind up the live session.
Yeah. So my closing remarks will be around I am a big advocate of holistic wellness. And what I
Mm,
mean by holistic wellness, the work that I do, that Sheila also you do, is we advocate for financial wellness. But I've learned that you can't advocate for financial wellness in isolation because the human being is we are whole. So there's what we call the 8 pillars of holistic wellness. There is the intellectual wellness pillar, which speaks to education, like we're talking about it today. You need to keep your mind sharpened. There's a physical pillar, which speaks to, am I physically able? Financial
mm,
wellness, which you and I do. Spiritual, psychological, social. So that means we have to work on our relationships with people.
mm,
Environmental. We need to work and live in an environment that is healthy and conducive. And the last one is spiritual, whether you're religious or not, but you need to believe in a higher being. So all those 8 pillars need to be intact. So what we're saying is education, unless you're mentally or intellectually stimulated, it's going to
mm.
cost you because you're going to spend money trying to fill that void. So rather use your money and resources to sharpen your skills by going to webinars, reading books, doing short courses, formal qualifications, going to networking events so that your mind is inspired. So those are my closing remarks.
Thank you so
And
much. I
yeah,
totally. Mhm.
no, I was just saying, and then you can find me on all the social media platforms. My name is TK Ntebe. And then alternatively, you can look for TK Consultancy, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn. Yes. So my name is TK Ntebe, or the company name is TKO Consultancy. And then hit me up. Let's engage. Let's have conversations. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel, Financial Wellness Center. Give it a like if you like it. Thumbs up. Comment and share. Oh, look at me taking over your channel again.
Anyway, thank you so much, TK. It's been indeed a pleasure to have you join us for this live session. And as well, I really agree with every ideology that you provided, that education is an investment. It's high time we change our mindset of thinking that education is just a consumption thing or a scam. When you go into education, whether formal or informal, with the mindset of transformation, then you will be able to see the investment or the returns that education can bring to you, and of course open you up to endless possibilities. So, with that said, I would really thank each of you who has stayed with us through the session. We really appreciate your time to be with us and listening us. To all those that participated and asked and shared with us your feedback and thoughts, we greatly appreciate you. In case you'll have a question there after this live session, you can feel free to write in the comment section, or you can write us an inbox on our Facebook page or on our Instagram, Financial Wellness Center. And as TK mentioned, ensure you subscribe and turn on notification so that every time we are bringing amazing guests like TK and other people, you are notified so that we can have these thought provoking discussions. So, as TK said, you also need to visit his YouTube channel. It's under his name, TK Ntebe, right?
Yep, that's
Yes,
correct. And
yes.
subscribe, guys.
Yeah. Everyone, please ensure you subscribe to his YouTube channel, turn on notification, and don't just stop there. Follow him on Instagram. He has amazing posts and content that can grow your mind and just blow you off so that you can be able to know a lot of things, not just in terms of finances, but also travel the world virtually. Travel the world virtually and get to learn more about him. I can see we have Sei. Oh, that second name is a bit difficult for me. We have Sei you saying, "Hi guys, great session, liking the discussion. Thank you so much for joining in. We really appreciate you, and we believe that you've learned something. And definitely, you're going to share the link out to your audience as well so that they can get the answer on whether education is a scam, a consumption, or an investment. So until then, TK, you have something to say before we close
No,
out?
nothing. Thank you, guys. Thank you. It's been great being here, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Looking forward to more engagements going forward. Yeah, and education is
Sure.
not a scam.
Yeah, education is not a scam at all. So thank you so much once again. We'll see you in our next live session. If you have any question or if you have someone that you'd want us to bring on the show, just feel free to write us an inbox and we'll be more than happy to do that. Until then, see you, keep safe, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. I almost forgot.
All right, bye.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.